Walk into any Home Depot the week before a storm and watch what goes into the carts. Plywood, batteries, a blue tarp, cases of bottled water. Same four things, every time, in every store in the country. Now here's the part that should stop you. The Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety does something almost nobody else does. They build full-size houses inside a hangar and throw hurricane-force wind and driving rain at them until the houses come apart. Not models. Actual houses, actual roofs, actual garage doors. And after doing this for years, one thing became obvious. The failures aren't random. They repeat. It's not the walls. It's not the frame. It's the openings. The same handful of weak points on house after house after house. Which means the thing that decides whether your house is fine or gutted usually comes down to a part that costs under $40. And that part is on a shelf you walked straight past on your way to the plywood. Here's the uncomfortable version. Most homeowners aren't unprepared. They're wrongly prepared. They bought the item. They just bought the version that looks identical, sits on the same shelf, costs $8 less, and is engineered to fail in about 3 years. Nobody warned them because the packaging is designed so you can't see a difference. Same colors, same font, same aisle, completely different product. So that's what this list is. 16 things at Home Depot that will still be doing their job in 10 years, and 16 near-identical things sitting right beside them that won't. Here's the rule everything had to pass. 2 tests. 1. It has to sit there for a decade and still work the day a storm shows up. 2. And this is the one that matters. There has to be a cheaper-looking version next to it that fails. No wrong version, no spot on the list. Because this video isn't about what to buy. It's about what you're about to buy by mistake. None of this is bunker stuff. Most of it is under $20. And stay to the end, because the last 3 are the ones almost nobody buys. 2 of them protect the most common total loss failures in the entire storm damage record. And the 16th is the one I'd buy first if I could only buy one thing on this list. Number 1. 100% silicone sealant. $9. Stand in the caulk aisle and you're looking at 40 tubes. Maybe 3 are right for the outside of your house. The wrong one says siliconized acrylic or acrylic latex plus silicone. On the shelf it reads as silicone. It isn't. Under UV and thermal cycling, it shrinks, chalks, and splits in 2 to 4 seasons. You caulked. You feel like you handled it. 3 summers later, there's a hairline gap behind your trim that you can't see, and water can. The right one says 100% silicone, and there's a speck on the tube nobody looks at. The ASTM-C920 movement class. Class 25 means that bead can stretch and compress 25% of the joint width and recover. Class 50 doubles it. That's the part nobody explains. Sealant isn't glue. It's a shock absorber. Your siding, trim, and glass all expand and contract at different rates in the same afternoon. The joint is moving whether you like it or not. Silicone moves with it. Acrylic cracks. 4 tubes. And spend 10 more on a ratchet drive caulk gun, because the $4 friction one is why people quit halfway around the house. Hold on to this. I'll call it part 1 of the envelope. Item 2 is part 2. Item 12 is part 3, and you won't see how they connect until we get there. Number 2. Butyl flashing tape. $18 a roll. Ask anyone who inspects storm damage for a living what they see most, and it usually isn't a hole in the roof. It's water that got in behind something and traveled somewhere else before it showed up on a ceiling. The wrong buy is asphalt-based roof repair tape, or the rubberized tapes you've seen sawing boats in half on television. Asphalt oxidizes. It goes brittle in cold, soft in heat, and either way it releases right where you needed it. The right buy is butyl rubber with a foil or poly face. Here's what makes butyl different from everything else in that aisle. It never cures. It stays permanently plastic. So when a nail goes through it, the butyl flows around the shank and stays sealed to it. Every other tape splits at the nail and hands water a straight path in. Head flashing over a window. Roof penetrations. Cut ends of siding. Sealing a tarp edge against a wall so wind can't peel it. One 4-inch roll, one 2-inch roll. Which brings us to the most bought, most wrong item in the entire store. Number 3. A heavy-duty poly tarp. $30. The blue tarp is the most photographed object in every storm aftermath in America, and not because it works, because everyone bought one. Standard blue is about 5 mil, loose weave, no meaningful UV inhibitors. Its life in direct sun is measured in weeks. Then it chalks, powders, and sheds. And the fabric usually isn't what fails first, the grommets are. Spaced far apart, punch through unreinforced hem, so every gust concentrates the whole load onto 5 little metal rings. The right one is 10 to 12 mil, silver or silver and black. UV treated both sides, rope reinforced hem, grommets every 18 inches. Rated in years. And here's why that isn't a preference. After a regional event, roofers and adjusters are triaging thousands of houses at once. Backlogs of a month or two are normal. So a tarp with a 3-week service life isn't a tarp. It's a countdown. It's the difference between a roof repair and a full interior gut, decided by $20 you spent a year earlier. 2 of them. One 12 by 16, one 20 by 20. And there's a number on the next item that almost nobody reads. Misreading it is exactly how people lose the thing they were trying to secure. Number 4. Hot dip galvanized and stainless fasteners. $12 to $25 a box. Your deck, fence, railings, and ties are all held together by the cheapest component in the assembly, and it's the one people grab without looking. The wrong buy is electro-galvanized screws, sometimes labeled bright zinc, in pressure-treated lumber. Modern treatment is copper-based, and copper against thin zinc in the presence of moisture is a battery. The coating goes, then the steel. Rust streaks in 2 seasons, real capacity lost well before 10 years. The right buy is hot dip galvanized to ASTM A153 or 304 stainless. Within a few miles of salt air, go 316. It's on the box in small print near the bottom. This is a boring item, and it's here because it's a prerequisite. Item 11, one of the highest value things in this video, does almost nothing installed with the wrong fasteners. A box of 2.5-inch, a box of 3-inch, a pound of hot dip joist hanger nails. Now, the item that causes more post-storm house fires than anything else on this list. Number 5. A 12-gauge outdoor extension cord. $45. After the power goes out, this cord connects your generator to your actual life. Your fridge, your freezer, your medical equipment, if that's your situation. And people cheap out on it every time, because a cord is a cord. The wrong buy is 16-gauge indoor cord, or 100 feet of 14-gauge because it reached farther. Quick physics. Voltage drops over length, and thinner wire drops more. When voltage sags, a motor doesn't run weaker. It pulls more current to compensate. More current, more heat, in a jacket never rated for continuous outdoor load. Meanwhile, your compressor is quietly cooking itself. The right buy is 12-gauge in an SJTW jacket. The W is the weather rating. 25 or 50 feet, lighted end so you can see at a glance that you still have power. Short and thick beats long and thin. Always. If you need more reach, move the load, not the gauge. 2 25s and 150. And that number I mentioned is on this next one, number 6. Ratchet straps. $25 for a 4-pack. Bungee cords are decorative. That's the whole opinion. The front of the package shouts a big number, 1,500 pounds, 2,000. That's brake strength. That's where it fails. Tested once, on a new strap, in a lab. The number you use is the working load limit, typically about a third of that, printed on the label sewn into the strap. So somebody secures a 900-pound object with straps rated 500 pounds working load and believes they're at half capacity. They're over. And they find out in exactly the conditions the strap was bought for. The right buy is 1-inch ratchet straps with the working load limit stated, in polyester rather than nylon. Nylon stretches when wet, and everything here involves getting wet. Generator secured. Patio furniture lashed down. Shed doors compressed shut. Tarp edges pulled tight instead of flapping themselves apart. 4 1-inch, 2 2-inch heavy. Now stop. Before item 7, there's something about this list you need to understand, because it changes the order you buy in. A house doesn't fail everywhere, it fails at one place. That's it. And it's worth saying twice, because once you've heard it, you can't unsee it. In full-scale wind testing and in real damage surveys, the sequence is remarkably consistent. It usually isn't wind grinding a structure down. It's an opening that goes a garage door, a window, a door, and then the interior pressurizes. Once the inside is pressurized, the roof and walls get pushed outward from within. The structure didn't lose to the wind outside. It lost to a hole. So here's the reframe. This is not a shopping list. It's a triage list. Spreading $500 evenly across 16 items is genuinely worse than spending $200 on the 3 that sit at your failure point. Even coverage feels responsible. It isn't. It's diluted. Your homework costs nothing. Walk your house once, slowly, from outside. Find the 3 biggest openings. For most people, it's the garage door, the largest run of glass, and the lowest point where water gets in. Whatever's there, that's where the money goes first. And it rescores what we've covered. Items 1 through 6 are maintenance. They keep small failures from becoming openings. Everything from here is about the openings themselves. 2 items coming up cost under $20 and are the highest return purchases in this video. Neither one is a storm item at all. Number 7. Water leak alarms. $15 for a 4-pack. There's the loop, and here it is. The cheapest thing on this list prevents the most expensive category of damage there is. This isn't a storm product. It's a silence product. Sump pit, water heater pan, under the sink, behind the washer. Then you forget they exist for 4 years. The wrong buy is a smart sensor reporting through Wi-Fi to an app. Think about when you need it. Power's out. Router's dead. Phone is rationing battery. The clever one is offline exactly when the dumb one would be screaming. The right buy is the dumb one. A battery, a probe, and a 100-decibel shriek in a house with no power at 3 in the morning. And the economics are absurd because water isn't linear. 20 minutes of leak is a wet vac and some fans. 20 hours of the same leak is subfloor, baseboards, drywall, cabinets, and a conversation about the wall cavity. The alarm doesn't stop the leak. It moves you from the second scenario to the first. 4 minimum. Change batteries with the smoke detectors. Number 8. A cast iron sump pump and a full port check valve. $150 to $200. If your house has a sump, that's your lowest opening, and the pump isn't the part that fails first. The wrong buy is a plastic housing pump with a vertical float riding against the pit wall, plus whatever cheap spring check valve came in the box. 2 mechanisms, both matter. Plastic doesn't shed heat. A pump running continuously for 12 hours, which is what a storm is, heats up and trips its own thermal cutoff, shutting off in the middle of the event you bought it for. Cast iron pulls that heat into the water and keeps running. Second, the check valve. Cheap spring checks slam shut. That slam is water hammer, and repeated water hammer cracks discharge joints and shakes fittings loose over years. A silent or full port valve closes softly. Buy the check valve separately. The one in the box is almost never the good one. And give the float real clearance, because a pump that can't sense water is the same as no pump. Number 9. A battery backup sump system. $200 to $300. Here's what makes item 8 incomplete alone. Basements don't usually flood because a pump failed. They flood because the power went out, and a pump with no electricity is a paperweight. The storm that fills your sump is the same storm that kills your power. Same event. 2 wrong buys. 1. A water-powered backup on a private well that needs municipal pressure and you don't have municipal pressure. 2. A cheap starting battery from the automotive aisle. Starting batteries dump a huge burst for 3 seconds and expect an immediate recharge. Deep discharge ruins them. You'll have a dead backup and no idea. The right buy is a dedicated DC backup pump with a deep cycle AGM battery. Sealed, no maintenance, built for this duty cycle. And let me be straight about runtime, because the marketing isn't. Expect somewhere around 6 to 8 hours of intermittent pumping, not 2 days. That's still the difference between a dry basement and 4 inches of water, but buy it knowing the real number so you're not surprised at hour 9. 2 items on this list aren't storm tools at all. They're aftermath tools. One's next, the other is the very last thing here. And that distinction is what the next 2 minutes are about. Number 10. Rechargeable lights on one battery platform. $60 to $100. The mistake isn't buying bad lights. It's buying 5 good lights that take 5 different batteries. Everyone has that drawer. 3 orphan chargers, a light with a dead proprietary pack nobody makes anymore. A headlamp that takes AA as you don't have. All technically functional. None of it usable at 11 at night with no power. The right buy is a decision, not a product. Pick one 18 or 20 volt tool platform, whichever one your drill is already on, and buy only within it. An area light. A hand light. And the little USB power adapter that turns any tool battery into a phone charger. That last one is why this item is on the list. Your cordless tool batteries are the largest portable power reserve in your house, and you've never thought of them that way. A couple of 5 amp hour packs is several phone charges plus days of light, sitting in your garage right now doing nothing. Add a tripod work light if you can. Tarping a roof after dark with a phone flashlight in your teeth is how people fall off roofs. Number 11. Hurricane ties and structural connectors, about $2 each, $2. And this is the connection between your roof and the rest of your house. Here's the concept that makes it click. Engineers talk about the load path, roof to wall to foundation, one continuous chain. Wind doesn't push a roof sideways, it lifts it. Nails are strong in shear across the shank and weak in withdrawal, straight back out the way they went in. Toe-nailed rafters resist uplift almost entirely in withdrawal. That's the weak link. A metal connector's whole job is converting that uplift into shear. Same load, different direction, dramatically more capacity for $2 of steel. And here's where item 4 comes back. These connectors are rated with specific structural nails. Short, fat, in every single hole. Put deck screws in those holes and you get a fraction of the rated capacity while looking to yourself like you did the job. Be honest about the work. Retrofitting from inside an attic is a real weekend, on your knees, in the heat. But make one phone call first, because in some regions a documented wind retrofit means a real reduction in your premium. It can pay for itself on paper before it ever sees weather. Count your rafters. Buy that number plus 10%. Now everything so far has been about the storm. I want 2 minutes on the part nobody makes videos about, because it's longer, and for most people it's the worst half. The storm is hours. The aftermath is weeks. After a regional event, every roofer, adjuster, and restoration crew within 100 miles is triaging thousands of houses at once. You're in a queue, and it's not one you can buy your way to the front of. So here's the thing that actually ruins houses. It usually isn't the impact. It's the water that keeps arriving for the 3 weeks between the impact and the repair. That's why item 3 was a lecture about UV ratings instead of a price comparison. The tarp isn't cosmetic. For a month, the tarp is the repair. Then there's the cost nobody itemizes. Living in a compromised house. No lights. Damp floors. Something thumping over your bedroom at 2 in the morning. Making decisions while exhausted, which is when people sign with the first contractor who knocks, haul ruined property to the curb before anyone photographed it, or run a generator somewhere it should never be run because it was raining, and that seemed reasonable at the time. 3 things, fast, and they cost nothing to know. Photograph everything before you touch it. Wide shots, then close, then serial numbers. Mitigate, don't repair. Stopping further damage is your job. Rebuilding before it's documented is not. Keep every receipt. The tarp, the straps, the fuel. Reasonable mitigation spending is typically reimbursable, and people throw that money away because they didn't keep a bag of paper slips, which reframes the rest of this list. Half of what's left isn't about surviving a storm. It's about not having your life stop for 6 weeks afterward. And items 13 and 14 defend the same failure from two sides. Buying one without the other is the most common expensive mistake in this category. Number 12. Ice and water shield and synthetic underlayment. About $120. Here's the loop paying off. Item 1 was the sealant, item 2 was the tape. This is part 3, and the envelope only works as all 3 because water doesn't enter where the stain is. It enters somewhere, travels along framing, and appears in a room that has nothing to do with the hole. Now the thing most homeowners have never been told. Shingles are not waterproof. Shingles are a wear layer, the sacrificial surface that takes the sun and the hail. The waterproof part of your roof is underneath them, and nobody specifies it when collecting roofing quotes. The wrong version is 15-pound felt, quoted by default because it's cheapest. It tears under boots during install, wrinkles the moment it's damp, and can blow off in the window between tear-off and dry-in. The right version is synthetic underlayment across the field, plus self-adhering ice and water membrane at the eaves, in every valley, and around every penetration. That membrane does the same trick as the butyl in item 2. It seals around nail shanks instead of splitting away from them. On a roof with a few thousand nails, that's the whole ball game. Honest timing. You don't buy this the week of a storm. You buy it the day you replace a roof, which means for most people this isn't a purchase at all. It's knowing the words to put in the contract. It's a rounding error on a roof job, and it decides whether losing shingles means a repair or a gut. Number 13. A garage door reinforcement kit. About $120. The largest opening in most houses. The weakest assembly in most houses. And almost nobody reinforces it. A garage door is a sail. A big, flat, lightly framed sail on rollers. When it buckles inward, you haven't just lost a garage. You've pressurized the building. That's the mechanism from earlier. Interior pressure pushing the roof and walls outward while wind pulls from outside. For most homes, this is the one place. This is what the triage rule was pointing at. The wrong version is a couple of 2x4s lagged into the door skin. It feels solid. It does nothing because the load has to reach the floor and the header. If the force has nowhere to go but the door panel, the panel is still what fails. You've just added weight to it. The right version is a manufacturer-rated retrofit bracing kit sized to your door width, with real floor and header brackets. Vertical posts, transferring load into the structure. Check it against your actual door and track before buying, because widths and clearances vary more than people expect. It lives disassembled against the garage wall and goes up in about 20 minutes once you've done it once. Do it on a calm Saturday so the first time isn't in a rush. And here's why buying this alone is a mistake. Number 14. A pre-cut labeled window panel system. $150 to $300. There's the loop. Reinforce the garage, leave the windows, and the wind just uses a different door. Same failure, different opening. Not two purchases. One purchase with two halves. The plywood run before a storm is itself a failure mode. You arrive late, the store is picked over, you buy whatever thickness is left, then you're cutting sheets in a driveway in the wind while the light goes, guessing at measurements. The wrong version is half-inch OSB, and screws driven through vinyl siding into window trim. Trim is not structure. It will hand the panel to the wind with the trim still attached. The right version is 5/8 or 3/4 inch exterior grade plywood, cut this weekend in daylight with a tape measure. Every panel labeled on the back with the room and orientation. Kitchen, left, top toward garage. Anchors pre-installed into structural framing around the openings, not the trim. Hardware in a labeled bag taped to the stack. Here's the real insight. The plywood is cheap. The prep is the product. A labeled system goes up in 40 minutes by one unstressed person. An unlabeled stack takes 4 hours, 2 people, and an argument. If you know you'll never do this, do the other thing. Get one quote for impact-rated windows on your 3 worst openings just so you know the number. Knowing the number is what makes the decision possible later. Number 15. A generator interlock kit. About $150 for the hardware. This is what separates people who own a generator from people who can actually use one. The wrong version first, because it's the dangerous one. Backfeeding. A cord with a male plug on both ends run into a dryer or range outlet. It energizes the utility line outside your house, which can kill a lineman who has every reason to believe that line is dead. It's illegal essentially everywhere. And it voids the exact policy you're about to file a claim on. Nobody should ever do this, under any conditions, for any length of time. The quieter wrong version. 6 extension cords snaked through a cracked door. Now, your door seal is compromised, your cords are in the wet, and you've made a path for exhaust to follow inside. The right version is an interlock kit matched to your panel manufacturer, plus an exterior inlet box. A simple sliding plate that physically prevents the main breaker and generator breaker being on at the same time. Kill the main, slide the plate, turn on the generator breaker, and your house circuits feed properly through the panel. A fraction of the cost of a transfer switch, doing the critical safety job. To be completely clear, the kit is a homeowner purchase. The installation is a licensed electrician and a permit. Not optional and not a place to save money. While you're at it, battery-powered carbon monoxide alarms, and the generator lives well away from every window, door, and vent. Never in a garage, not even with the door open. Number 16. A whole house surge protector. $100 to $150. Here's the one I said I'd buy first, and here's why it's last. It's the only item here that protects things you can't tarp, brace, or dry out. Because the damage most people never see coming doesn't happen when the power goes out. It happens when it comes back. Restoration surges, switching transients, nearby strikes traveling in on the service line, arriving at a house full of equipment that was fine 10 seconds ago. Think about what's behind your panel now versus 20 years ago. Your HVAC or heat pump control board, the induction range, the EV charger, the well pump, every smart switch and thermostat, the internet equipment you'll need to file a claim and talk to an adjuster. Almost none of it is plugged into anything you could unplug. The wrong version is the $20 power strip. Point of use, low joule rating, and downstream of everything hardwired. Your furnace board is not plugged into a power strip. The right version is a Type 2 device, listed to UL 1449, installed at the service panel, with a status indicator you can see from where you stand, because these wear out silently after taking hits, and a dead protector that still looks installed is worse than none. Layer a couple of good point-of-use protectors on the electronics you care most about. An electrician, about an hour. Then it sits there for a decade asking nothing of you. It's the cheapest insurance in this video, and the only item on the list that protects you from the exact moment everyone else is celebrating. 16 items. Nothing over $300, most under $30. Not one looks like prepper gear, because not one is. They're normal things a normal homeowner buys, just the right version. 2 honest tiers. Tools and consumables. Sealant, tape, tarps, fasteners, cords, straps, lights, leak alarms, connectors. Land around $350 to $450 total. The structural tier. Garage bracing, window panels, interlock, surge protector, sump backup. Runs another $700 to $900 depending on the house. Now hold that against the number on your own policy. For a lot of people, wind and hail carries a percentage deductible rather than a flat one, which can mean $5,000 or $10,000 out of pocket before insurance pays anything. Go look. Most people have never read that line. But you don't need all 16. That's the wrong takeaway. You need the 3 that sit at your failure point. Here's what usually happens instead. Somebody watches a video like this, agrees with every word, and buys nothing. Then 2 years later, they're standing in the aisle the day before a storm, buying the blue tarp. That's not preparation. That's a video you enjoyed. So if you do one thing, do this. This weekend, before you spend $1, walk your house and find your 3 openings. Then buy the good tarp, the 4-pack of leak alarms, and 4 tubes of the right sealant. Under $60 one trip, and you've closed the 2 failures that show up most often in ordinary, unglamorous storms. Everything else builds from there. A house doesn't fail everywhere, it fails at one place. Go find yours. Next week's video is the pre-storm walkthrough, the exact sequence in order for the last 24 hours before landfall, including the 4 things people do in that window that quietly void their own claim. Drop a 1 in the comments if you've already got 5 or more of these. Drop a 2 if you're starting from 0. And I want to hear from you specifically, because 3 items here make far more sense to buy first than the rest. And if you're a roofer, an adjuster, or an electrician, tell me which item you see people get wrong most often. I read those, and they end up in the next video. If this was useful, consider subscribing. Practical, non-alarmist homeowner content, weekly. You don't have to do all of this. You just have to stop buying the wrong version, and you already have. Because now you know what the difference looks like.